can promote sustainable development which as co-benefit reduce CO2 emission. So this is the grand idea, to link the deeper cut, raising the market, allowing the developing countries through sustainable development, getting a co-benefit of CO2 absorption. In all this, the crucial issue is the technology transfer or technology cooperation. And this is the big issue in this meeting. We talk about everything except technology transfer. Then, yeah. So how to overcome this? CDM is not only a vehicle to get funds, certified emission reduction that can be sold in the market, but it is also connected with it technology transfer. So by having the CDM promoted, heavily promoted, then it is possible to have then to the developing country the transfer of technology precisely in the fields where we can have this co-benefits, energy efficiency, and so on and so forth. That requires specifically on the forestry issue and simplification of the way the procedure of CDM to forest projects need to be implemented. Now it's too cumbersome. It's a headache to have this forestry products through CDM. And fortunately, the meeting here agree in this Bali meeting to simplify this, and that can give a boost for forestry products under the CDM with technology transfer to reduce the CO2 emission. Furthermore, we have afforestation using the CDM, we have reforestation using CDM, but the destruction continue. And the strategy here is to give incentives to avoid deforestation. Below the forest trees, there is land. And in a developing country, it's the land which is important for rice production, for food production, and so on. If now you can have a scheme in which you say, look, Mr. Farmer, don't cut the tree, but we give a substitute revenue for this, through avoiding deforestation, then you can get them on board for preventing deforestation and then reduce then this CO2 emission. But it's rather difficult to give this idea across here because the big debate is not so much about the idea, but the way to do it. One stream of thought said, do it with public fund. Then the other stream of thought is do it with market fund. And I say, why is it either or? Why not both, where you can have the public fund, use the public fund, where the market has been developed, why not market? But the way of thinking is sometimes rather strange. But anyhow, our proposal is get both, and to prove it, let's start with a pilot project on this, whether both systems are workable. And here I see that the business opportunity, the business must be more involved in the CDM mechanism. The amount of CDMs only Brazil, China, India, but in other developing countries, including mine countries, very small. And if you ask why, because they don't understand what is the CDM mechanism, how does it work. But here I think it is very crucial. So we should move in that direction. Furthermore, reduction of emissions from deforestation is another business opportunity. And of course, this carbon capture storage, the big debate in this meeting is that the technology is still a question mark to be related with the CDM mechanism. So I think that's all, I think, yeah. So, dear friends, this is then all what I'd like to propose, so that we can get to a conclusion, to the final conclusion with the business on board of our effort. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor. We've now got an opportunity for some question and answers and panel discussion. Before we move into that, though, I'd like to invite one of our member companies, AEP, Dennis Walsh, participant here. He'd like to come up and make some additional comments about carbon capture and storage as a business solution.
James said I'd like to come up. He gave me about 15 minutes to try and figure out what to say. But thank you for letting me come up. And I want to, as American Electric Power is the largest user of coal in the Western Hemisphere. Therefore, we have a responsibility as a company to try and deal with this issue. We're also in the top tier wind producers in the country, and in the utility industry, we also are one of the top in forestry. Carbon capture and storage is something we all need to deal with and deal with it quickly. As Preston has said, it's not the technology. The technology is there, so if that's what they're talking about over there, arguing whether technology is available, it is available. The issues are more about what can we do and do it quickly. With permitting, we have committed to 2 full-scale projects on 2 of our power plants, one in Oklahoma and one in West Virginia, where we have to get past the research and development. Research and development on carbon capture and storage will help solve this problem, but you have to have real projects. And the communities, whether it be the NGO communities, the commercial industry, the coal industry, and the electric industry, have to work together and stop fighting with each other and start dealing with the issue. And we're trying very hard to do that. But property rights are an issue. Who owns it below the ground? Who will take the carbon if we have a 1% leak versus 100% of it going in the air today? We have to stop thinking of excuses and start taking action. And we are trying to do that very, very much so in the United States. But what's happening, the 2 new plants we just announced to build, they're trying to stop every coal plant from ever being built again. Over 50% of the energy in the United States is produced by coal. It's not going to go away. It's a part of a portfolio of forestry, of photovoltaics, renewables, gas, nuclear. Who would have ever thought we'd be hearing in today's world that NGOs are saying, well, maybe nuclear is good. So what I hope we come out of these discussions is that we move past R&D on carbon capture and storage and start doing it together so that we can be successful, because that's the only way it's going to be done. Thank you.
Dennis. Okay. Perhaps just a couple of summary comments, and then I've got a few questions for our panelists. We've heard about 2 opportunities. One, forest carbon, which can be realized now through sustainable forest management, and the challenge we're facing is how sustainable forest management can be energized or incentivized through carbon and carbon markets, both on the voluntary and the regulatory side. So that solution is known. It's about deployment. We've also heard about carbon capture and storage, industrial carbon capture and storage. And again, the problem there is not unknown. It's about deployment and market mechanisms and approaches so that this technology can be taken up. I was just going to ask Anesta, as a business person with forests, expanding your forests, what's your concerns about how the carbon market might play in terms of your forest management practices?
Everybody wants to grab their piece of the carbon market, and if the carbon markets develop so that credits jump in at the middle of the value chain, it will be very difficult to incentivize the long-term, high-technology, long-lived investments that we need to make to grow trees. listening to the